All right, I'm gonna real quickly here give you an idea of how you make a burnisher. Sometimes you're gonna have different sizes that you want. So you get 2 burnishers in your kit in your rosewood handles. One is a little bit thicker tip than the other, and it is used for bigger stones, like maybe setting your 3mm and above. And then I have a really fine point one, and this is kind of 2mm and below. And you can even make them finer than what I've made the points here. There's not a huge amount of difference between these two, but you can make burnishers in all different types of sizes, widths, thicknesses, taper. It's really up to you. I probably have somewhere close to 10, 12 of them in different sizes and shapes. And it's just a matter of kind of making something for the job and deciding that you want to make one that fits what you need. So I save all of my old ball burrs and I make all of these out of that, and it's pretty simple to do. You don't need a lot of complicated tools to accomplish it. I have these here. The ones you get in your kit come in a rosewood handle. It's a really hard wood. It's a nice comfortable size that fits into your palm. And so when you go to do setting and such, it's going to just fit right in there and be able to be used pretty easily. I have a lot of mine in something here called a quick change engraver handle. It's not really have to be used for engravers only, but what it does is it comes out and puts in, so you can change out each of these collets every time. So you can just have like a pile of them and then change out whatever sizes and such that you want to use, whether it's gravers, whether it's a pusher, whether it's a burnisher. Those are the types of tools that I have inside my graver handle here. I like these quite a bit because of the weight they have. So this is a weighted rubber handle, and it fits really nice into my hand. It has a little tiny Allen wrench here to open, and then you can change out those things. When you buy a set of these quick change handles, you're going to, and it just tightens real easy, you're going to get a set of 3 collets. So this quick change part at the end, you're going to get so 3 of these. They have this little rubber that makes it stay in there, and then a notch where they fit in. So you're going to get 3 collets with a handle. And it is one of my favorite ways to hold a graver, as well as the burnishers and any pushers that I use, like a V-prong pusher or a just pusher to push a stone into place, and my many burnishers. So you can just have one handle and dozens of collets. I have them in the quick change because it's a lot easier to store this than it is to store an entire handle like this of a bunch of different shapes. Cost-wise, this is a little bit more of an investment. A set of 3 collets is close to $40. GRS is the maker of these. So that is an option for you if you wanted to kind of do a little upgrade and kind of go with that with your burnishers and any gravers and such that you would have that you'd want to use that way. So for really simple, these are very accessible. So you can get those. These are the just mushroom shape and the long hard rosewood. So it's a nice hard wood, and these burnishers fit in here really nice and stay in there. So this is a really great solution for making a couple of point burnishers that you can easily grab and access. So making these point burnishers, how does that happen? Making the point burnishers, like I said, is made from ball burrs. So here I have a whole set of 0.6mm ball burrs, regular ball burrs that I have not even used. They're brand new. So you can just buy a pack of these and make burnishers if you want to make a bunch of different sizes, or you can wait till you wear them out. They do wear out fairly quickly, so it is something that you can just save these. I just keep them in a little kind of tin and save them. You don't want to use any of the more hardened metals that are used for burrs for long lasting. You just want to use your basic steel burrs. So these are pretty easily shaped because of the steel type that is used in a ball burr. So the first step is on these, once you've got that worn out, it's worn out. All right, so that ball there, we're just gonna go ahead and break off the tip. You can break it off at the very tip, but you're just gonna have to grind back more. So I go ahead and grab it a little bit and just snap it off. They'll snap off pretty easily. So then you have a nice long taper. If you were making one that you want a little bit shorter and fatter, you don't want as long of a taper, as you can see the difference in the shape, you're just gonna grab it down a little bit lower. So you're going to grab it down further down to break off more metal than you did on the first one. We're still going to grind down and shape those. So now that we have the little bit longer taper and we have a shorter, little bit shorter one, this one's going to be our little bit thicker one. I'm going to set that one aside to start off with. And so when you go to do these, my favorite, quickest way to do these is to go ahead and take a separating disc. You're going to want to wear goggles with this, and because this can throw some sparks as well as quite a bit of steel dust. So what you're going to want to do is just start to shape that. I start usually going down and bringing down the tip into kind of a nice flat shape, and kind of know that I have a little bit of material there. So you've got to be able to see the dot. It can't be so small like a needle. So, and then I'm just going to roll that tip to take off that flat part of where that tip went. And so I kind of go back and forth to make sure I still have a rounded surface. Definitely going to take some magnification to make sure I'm not making any major flat spots on there. I might rotate it in my hand, like pick it up even though I'm turning it. I'm not using a lot of pressure, just kind of a light touch. And once I get a nice rounded shape of what I want that point burnisher to look like, how fine I want it to be, I'm going to go ahead and switch to a diamond impregnated rubber wheel. It's the blue wheel. It's made by a couple of different companies. Denta is the main company that makes the diamond impregnated rubbers wheels. This I don't do anything but sharpen engravers and burnishers on, because it's got steel all coated on it. You don't want to go take this and then go try to start polishing gold or platinum with it. So I just run this, just cleaning that up, making sure we have nice shape to that, and we don't have any sharp edges. Not a lot of time. And then I go up to the yellow. This one is considered extra fine. And so you can't see that it's yellow, but it is yellow. Again, diamond impregnated rubber wheel. Running it again. I'm going up the burnisher a little bit because any metal that it might be touching, I want to make sure it comes off as shiny. Because as you use a burnisher, what's going to happen, the burnisher itself, whatever surface is on that is going to be what's left behind on your metal. So if you've got something that's got gritty or lines or anything like that, that's going to transfer onto the little rim of metal that you're putting around your stone. So you want to make sure that you have a nice clean surface on your burnisher. As you use your burnishers, you might have to come back and polish them in the future. Do you have to have these diamond impregnated wheels? No, you don't. They're expensive. This is like, I want to say somewhere in the $50 range for one of these wheels. But I've had this wheel for like 6 years. So it's not like they wear out real easily. You can do all this with a red wheel. So you can do your shaping and all of that with that. It takes a little bit longer. You still want to start, pardon me, with your separating disc. That does help quite a bit. These are handy to have in the studio and definitely a needed tool. So I'm going to go ahead and shape that second tip. So what I'm doing is making a little bit bigger tip. And then I'm going to round off where I made that flat, so we have a nice rounded surface. You can see the difference where this one is a little bit fatter than the thin fine point burnisher. So I'm going to go ahead and do the finishing on the little bit thicker one. And I'm going to show you, you don't have to use the diamond impregnated ones. You can go ahead and use a red rubber wheel to start to do kind of the initial polishing. And so I'm using this top surface because it's easier to access, and I can still use the rest of the surface if I'm using for gold or silver polishing. That way I don't really have steel on that surface. Or just have a designated one for steel. So there, we've got that one all cleaned up with the first polish. And then you can move to a gray wheel. The gray pumice wheel that's in your kit is a good enough final polish for what we're doing here. You can take it up to the next level of a more high polish if you want to. You can even take this to the polishing wheel, but this is plenty for what we're doing and the type of surface that we're going to leave. So you can see that leaves a nice surface. The steel that's used in these ball burrs is soft enough to be able to do that with. So from here, we end up with these two different point burnishers. And now we got to put these in a handle. We can put them in the hard rosewood handle, or we can put them into the GRS quick change using the vise to do this. I'm just using a vise that I have that will fit under the camera. You can use a larger bench vise. You want to make sure you know how far you want that to sit out. So if you're sitting there and you're holding this and you're thinking, how far do I need that to kind of sit out? You need to make a determination of like kind of where your finger is going to be able to go and how you're going to be able to hold things. So you don't want to have it jammed too far in there, but you also don't want them to be way out here and barely hanging on. So you want to have kind of this here, if I go and I measure, you're sticking out about 1 inch. And I think that's a good rule of thumb when using this length of rosewood handle. Again, when I use the GRS quick change, it is a little bit longer than that, and part of that has to do with how they fit in my hand. So I make that mark so I know about how deep it needs to go in there. You're going to put it with your point down. If you have this vise, you want to make sure that you're not going to have it, if it moves a little bit, that it's not going to go hit down on some steel. So make sure you have plenty of room. You want to make sure that the line is showing and not even with the surface. You want to be able to see when you go to hammer that down. I'm just using a brass weighted mallet. Nothing super heavy duty, but enough that it's going to poke into the wood. Now I'm just going to go ahead and hammer down. You want to make sure that your burnisher is tight in there, because if you don't have it tight, it's just going to keep dropping into the surface and not really going into your hardwood handle. So I am just tapping it down. And if it does go down too far, you're going to have to back it back out, because you need to be able to see that line to be able to get to it. All right. It does take a little bit of force to get in there, but that gives you about where you need to be. I'm going to hammer that a little bit more. A lot of times these will come off. They don't do anything. They don't serve a purpose except decoration. However, if you like those to be on there, you can just go ahead and take a punch. There's usually an indentation on them, and so you just take a punch, put it into that indentation, and hammer it back into place so that it doesn't move out of place. I'm going to go ahead and hammer this down just a smidge more because I want it to be more, the color more even with the black line. And I've got that really tight in my vise, so whatever vise you're using. And really try to make an effort to be hammering that in straight. This went a little bit sideways, so you can see that it is kind of off to the side. That doesn't really affect how it's going to function. You just want to make sure that it's holding in there tightly. You want that black line to be kind of even with the collet. There we go. So, and then you have your handle and your burnisher.